I'm not sure. Is the next session supposed to start now? I thought I had an hour, but maybe it's only 30 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, I'm supposed to start, but you can just wrap it up or give people a contact,
Sure.
or if you want to handle
Okay.
it. No rush.
So, I'll just give people my email if you'd like to send that to me right now, and then you can use this also to find me on Facebook, which is C as in Christopher, D as in David, J as in Jackson, 777@gmail. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Very good.
Sweet.
Hey guys.
All right. Great.
Hey guys. Tomer Vardi. The topic is the paradigm shift in the way we work, learn, and socialize. Technological evolution can't be stopped. And I'll just give you a little bit of background on myself so that you know where I'm coming from. I live in a fully sustainable community in the jungles of Costa Rica, where I am now. We grow our own food here, mostly off-grid and vegan, and I couldn't think of a better place to be. But I planned for it. It's not by coincidence, it's been a long time coming. It was inevitable, and a lot of things, brought us here. I also, I'm one of the main partners of Envision Festival, which has been going on for 10 years. It's the greenest, most sustainable festival, about 8,000 people, with about 250,000 followers. Our mission is to bring people closer to nature and connect them with the planet. My background's in artificial intelligence and development, and one of my first ventures was a payment system called GlobeCash for the internet back in 2000. And since then, I've been really mostly looking into different ventures and in the new, different changes in the world, investing, in artificial intelligence system, data center, healthcare administrative systems. And now I'm mostly investing in companies in efficiency trends, but only that have positive impact.
You did great. Thank you. You put 776.
Let me try to mute that. I don't think he knows. Actually, he's a host. I don't think I can mute it. All right. Hopefully he'll realize. So that's enough about me. Let's talk about the topic. So just like electricity, the transistors, cell phones, and the internet changed the way we live, work, and learn and shop. It's a new unstoppable paradigm shift today. Right? We all know already that the world has been migrating towards online shopping, online learning, online socializing, online working. Now let's talk about that shift. And for those of us who don't realize it, Amazon's a $1.2 trillion company today, although it went down a lot today, but and there, that's all about online shopping, and that's the new trend. As in all generational shifts, the older generation, which is typically the existing workforce with the financial influence and most of the political control, they're set in their ways, and they like to do what they know, making them adverse to change and doing things in a new, more efficient way, utilizing new tools that they're not comfortable with. They're used to seeing, touching products because that's how they grew up and what they're comfortable with shopping, learning, socializing, and working. It's how they grew up and what they're accustomed to. But the reality is that we can't stop technological evolution. If it makes things more efficient, we're heading there inevitably because that's what makes sense. Retailers were already hanging by a thin thread and online schools have been growing exponentially while the virtual workspace is being utilized more and more. So the reality is we're heading there regardless. It's just a matter of time. All right. 21.8% of the population worldwide shops online. Roughly 62% of employees between 22 and 65 say they work remotely at least occasionally. Since 2000, the e-learning global industry grew by 900%. And this is before Corona. So the shift was heading there regardless, which brings us to our catalyst, Corona. While we're heading there anyway, it just makes us get there faster and ruined our smooth transition, which we typically all like. But now people were forced to work from home, socialize from home, learn from home, and grew accustomed to it. And the systems and technologies that are available there, and there's no turning back. There's no turning back. All right, retail. I think I've echoed. Somebody else's. Oh, sorry. Retailers could barely afford to be open, and they will not reopen. For those, once people have figured out that they can shop online, which they have, and that there's no purpose for them. Universities could not justify such expensive real estate campuses for non-essential on-site learning, except for maybe labs and, physical testing and other such, things that require a presence. Why would you pay 9 times more for education when you can do it online for 1/9 the cost? It's just dramatically lower and doesn't make any sense. Same thing, people buying food, and clothing, they've been forced to do it and now they're comfortable with it. Why would offices reopen when they realize they can accomplish 90% remotely and we have the tools to make it efficient and practical? Why should we spend time driving to meetings back and forth in traffic if it's not necessary? And now we realize it, because we tried it out, we were forced to do it. So to participate in events virtually, and now that it's accepted and it's the new norm, this can all be brought to us with technology. It's going to get better and better through virtual reality, faster internet, but it's here to stay, and some of us prefer it regardlessly. It's an evolutionary shift that was coming, and it's better to accept it and adapt than fight it. Right. And so that brings us to, what's going to happen with all this commercial real estate, So all this is going to bring a collapse to the commercial real estate market. Now that we realize we don't need to have all these offices, university campuses, retail stores. So what does that do to inventory? Well, unfortunately, real estate is like all businesses and most businesses, it's supply and demand. And we just got a lot more supply and very little demand. So this will cause a collapse in the commercial real estate market, which will affect the residential market, because a lot of this commercial real estate will be converted. And so there'll be a lot more demand, a lot more supply there. The only reason we're not prepared is because of the catalyst, and the way we had to transition. It was forced upon us, so it's a shock. It wasn't a smooth process. We usually, have time, in the past to adapt to new technologies, new technological paradigm shifts. Here we were kind of forced into the new shift, and we've been, so it's not, we're more uncomfortable with that shift, and scared of it, but it's here, just like we adapted to the cell phone and the internet, and we've grown accustomed to it. And whether it's good or bad, that's a whole nother topic, but it's not going away. But the new world is full of hope, and technology, it's not our enemy. We can utilize it to make things more efficient. We also use it to generate food, shelter, healthcare for all. When we, make things more efficient, it can benefit other sectors. There's no reason for people to do meaningless work, in the world. Repetitive jobs can be done by robots. We need to focus on art, science, culture, politics, nature. The rest can be programmed and done more efficiently by machines. We need to hone our skills and be productive members of society. There's a lot of talk on bringing in manufacturing, back to the US, but, that's not going to be, it's not like in China. We're not going to go into a factoring line. We're not going to bring back and people are working, doing brainless jobs. It's going to be more of programming robots and being engineers, and again, more skilled work rather than repetitive, mindless work. And that's good. That's a good thing. And we can't forget about the planet. That's a big mission, for myself, and definitely an eye-opening from where this virus came from, and look at just us all sitting at home and letting the planet heal. The carbon footprint that we're causing is, there's a lot of new statistics that won't be forgotten, and we're going to have benchmarks to use. We just need to make sure, as Einstein said, that our technology does not surpass our humanity, and we'll be fine. We'll have to look into new forms of society from here, and that rewards differently and merit and equalize artists, like in Envision. We're trying to create sustainable communities where we reward artists and other creatives so that they can benefit in a different way, because we don't have an equalized, monetized system. So we're going to be forced to look out of the box. I mean, there's going to be a lot of, we'll either get there through evolution or revolution, right? Because we keep growing in ways where there's major separation in class, and that, as history taught us, that doesn't last long. And I mean, that, that was, the main topic, and I have some questions and answers. First, I'll open it to other people for questions, and then I'll, propose some past questions and FAQs that have been presented on this topic before. If anybody has anything to add or ask.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
If you can hear me. I'm curious your thoughts. I mean, I love hearing about Envision and know some friends that have been, have participated, but how do you think, maybe specifically for the US or generally, people will, to your point, we've been shoved into this new reality, whether you want it or not. Maybe you have a remote job, maybe you wanted it or not, you were fired from your services job and looking for an internet job now. How do you think people will rethink where they live and how they live, sort of the spectrum between super city and intentional community? Do you think it's going to cause some evolution on that?
Sure. It's a very good question. And I'm at the epicenter, right? So first of all, Envision is all about Envision communities now. We're building Envision communities, and we started mostly doing for, our audience, which now most of them can't even get here, can't afford it. So it's about getting, trying to equalize. So, we're reaching to the upper echelon of our members, but creating the lower and more available and rewarded artists and crafts, community to coincide with our philosophies and sustainable and growing our own food and providing work and equalizing that value. So that's what we're trying to do. Now, what I'm hearing is a huge shift, in people in New York, for example, and friends that they're lost their jobs, and now they're rethinking, like, do I even want a job here? What am I doing here? Do I want to be here? What are my options? I can work remotely, obviously, and is this where I want to be? Is this, am I happy here? What are my options? And people, are posing that question, and I think you'll see a huge shift. There's a huge movement in sustainable communities here in Costa Rica and growth, and people are, really driving that train forward. And I think a lot of people are very receptive to that, especially, so since it's now accepted basically that you can work remotely and you don't need to pay that huge real estate expense of being in Manhattan or New York or anywhere, right? You could live for a small fraction of that here, both from food and the land, and what it would cost you here. So I definitely see a big move and a big change. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else? And I'm sorry, the power went out here, so I'm in the dark. I mean, it's solar, but on internet, it's just the location I'm in. So. Okay, so some of the other questions that were posed is why is this happening? Let's pose that question. And as humans, we always strive to do more and be more efficient, just like using microwaves instead of ovens. It's always better. That depends on the individual. If you think that that's it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's happening because we evolve as society and the human race. We're always adapting technology to make things more efficient. How do we socialize remotely? Is the question. We've already been doing it, it's through social media and our phones, FaceTime chats. It's just going to get better. And such applications as Zoom, as we're using. I had Passover on Zoom and birthdays. And so it's, we're doing it. And, we've had virtual festivals already for our audience, and, people miss being, being a community, and that brings us to another question here that had, what about human contact, right? And it's a tough one, right? It's a necessary thing for all humans, and that'll never go away or change. It doesn't come without consequence, being virtual, and you just need to figure it out and, figure out what that means for society, and, not to lose that disconnect. Even like when we had our little virtual festival, people cried, let out, they felt the presence of community. So it's, it's a tough one. What does this mean for us as a society, this true disconnect? Well, we have to find a better way to connect, right? There's other, like I said, there's vehicles, as long as you feel loved and connected to your society, and if there's still tools out there, it's not going to replace holding hands and hugging, which has been taken from us. But, we have to work on it, it's hard hiding behind a screen, it changes things. Is this a bad thing or a good thing? Well, that's up to the individual. I don't think it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's new tools, and how we choose to use them. We can use them for good and use them for bad. A lot of people are concerned about their jobs, and that's the thing, right? You need to reinvent yourself. You need to, like you said, one of the things is figure out where you want to live, and who do you want to be and what makes you happy. And there's many jobs. There's gonna be a lot of jobs. You just got to reinvent yourself and look for what's out there, and the new industries that are popping up. I know there's, people ask me about their real estate, their homes. That's a tough one, because real estate, there's opportunities in real estate, now, but again, things always equalize at the end. Is it anybody else have any question? Any more questions? Okay, so you know, the next thing is, you know, I want to talk a little bit on, you know, our philosophies of new forms of society, you know, that will bring us to it. You know, me personally, I come from a kibbutz. I don't know if you guys know what that is, or if anybody knows. It's a form. It's the only form of communism that worked in Israel to form, to basically, you know, create, to spread Israel about. They allowed these little, you know, kibbutzes to, you know, pop up, which were large American families and 100 friends and families that they formed. And, you know, there was no money exchange. Everybody worked, you know, for the greater good, and, you know, everybody ate together. Everybody was provided homes. And, you know, the reason it didn't, you know, you know, they worked very well. It was a great childhood, great life. You know, you had no worries, no stress. You were with the other kids, and it was a great way to live and be brought. The problem was, you know, it's, you know, as you become adolescent age, you're always looking at the outsides with TV. You know, there was no internet back then, but, you know, TV and internet today. So the kids tend to leave, you know, the kibbutzes. And so what happens is, you know, all the, you know, the younger generation, they're not there to support this, it's, you know, sub-society, right? They're kibbutz, right? And so it's hard. I mean, a lot of them do come back, but it doesn't work. You know, like communism doesn't work on a small scale where there's other more prominent, you know, advantages. And communism didn't work in Russia because there was corruption, right? You have, you know, the KGB or the police force that you could pay people on the side, and therefore you were able to get more than somebody else and create separation. But, you know, now with technology and society, where you have systems that can basically enforce and monitor, and they're the system, they're the enforcement, right? So they're uncorruptible. It's, you know, a form that allows people to be provided for. There's no reason for starvation, you know, or lack of shelters. You know, everybody should really be provided the basic necessities of life, and in a good way. And, you know, the things we should concentrate on society is really the arts and the sciences, and, you know, politics is fine, but, you know, it's contributed, and you shouldn't have to worry about, you know, your medical bills or anything that, you know, the society is very well equipped to provide. And, you know, I think we're heading there, you know, regardless. You know, people are opening their eyes, people are screaming unjust, you know, and especially now more than ever, right? There's going to be so many people displaced with jobs, and so many people that have barely enough money to get food to eat. And so there's going to be that major separation, and you know, we're going to get there eventually. We'll either do it through evolution, through our politics, or through revolution, through our people. Might not be now, and might not be in 5 years, but it's coming. You know, it's the future of society, one way or another. You know, that's how I see it. Again, any other questions? I think I'm about to wrap up here. In about 3 minutes, I can do some questions if somebody has, and anything else. Okay. All right. I think now that concludes my talk on it, and thanks for listening.